Okay, y'all, so it's officially the beginning of my baking era, and we're kicking it off with some bakery-style cinnamon rolls.
The full list of ingredients will be listed in the description.
Now start off with some warm milk, add in the yeast, let it sit for about 5 minutes so it can get nice and foamy. Then add in the sugar, the melted butter, eggs, and a pinch of salt. I use my KitchenAid mixer, which made this so much easier. If you don't have one, you can still mix it by hand. It's just going to take a little elbow grease. Next, add in your flour. I added it in gradually until the dough was soft and it started pulling away from the side of the bowl. Knead the dough for about 5 minutes, then transfer it to a grease bowl.
You can either use some oil, or I opted into using some of the melted butter that I had left over to oil my pan, to grease my pan so that the dough wouldn't stick. It's important to make sure that you roll your dough into a nice size prior to putting it in the pan. I know this is the hard part of having patience. Do not skip this step. You will need to cover the dough. I use saran wrap, but if you have a cloth or if you have aluminum foil, you can cover it up. You do need to stick the bowl into an area that is dark and warm. I use my oven without turning it on, so therefore to give it an opportunity for the dough to rise.
Now after all that, I needed a nap, but instead I began the filling by mixing up brown sugar and cinnamon.
The smell of brown sugar and cinnamon is such a sweet aroma.
Once it doubles in size, roll the dough out on a floured counter.
This is where the elbow grease come in at. You're going to need to roll the dough out on the counter and make sure to try to get it into a square shape as much as possible. Take your time with this part because you want to make sure that the dough is spreading out thin and not too thick. So therefore you're able to roll it out and it'll give you a nice thick cinnamon roll.
Spread soft butter all over the dough and begin to layer the cinnamon sugar on thick and press it in so it doesn't spill.
Now for the fun part. This is where you're going to roll out your cinnamon roll. You want to take your time. You also need a prayer. This is where I pray over my baking. I pray over my food because, Lord, I need you to come in and make sure that this is perfection right here. Roll it out piece by piece so therefore it doesn't break. It is going to be a bit fragile, and make sure that you're rolling it tight so that the cinnamon roll and the brown sugar stays in there. Next, take your baking dish and you want to make sure that you're oiling it or greasing it. I use, again, the leftover melted butter that I had. Then on to the work of art. I used a floss thread in order for me to cut the cinnamon roll. Now this allowed me for precision. You can also use a knife, a very sharp knife if you would like. It was just easier for me to use the thread. This is the work of art. This is what you've been waiting for. You can make it as thick as you want. Take your time and try to match up the sizes so that they're all evenly cut. If you don't listen to anything else I say, please do not skip this step. You want to add in your heavy whipping cream over the cinnamon rolls. This is where it's going to cause it to be soft and fluffy, and so that it's not dry at the bottom. Trust me on this one. Trust me, okay? Next, you're going to cover it back up with saran wrap. Stick it back under the oven for another 30 minutes so it can do its final rising. Once it's sat for 30 minutes, you're going to pull it out, unwrap it with the saran wrap, stick it back into the oven at 350 degrees for 20 to 28 minutes. Pay attention to it because it may take a little bit longer or a little bit shorter time, but you don't want to burn it. Next, we're going to start with our frosting. You're going to add in your cream cheese, and then you'll add in your melted butter. Whisk it all together, and then slowly add in your powdered sugar. You want to make sure that you're slowly adding it in so that it gives it the opportunity for it all to bind, and then add in your vanilla extract. Give it a good whisk, making sure that you're scraping the sides, that everything is bited in smoothly. Once your timer go off for the cinnamon rolls, pull them out. Frost them while they're still warm. You can layer your frosting. Take your time with this. Make sure that the frosting is going in between the cinnamon rolls so that everything is evenly spread out. And voila, you have fresh made restaurant style cinnamon rolls. And if you're on your own baking journey, start here. Messy counters, flowers on your face and all. The process is definitely worth it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you made it to the end, comment here for it because we're not gatekeeping over here.